Hi, this is Jason from Sonoran Music Devices coming to you from the Sonoran Desert, USA. This is basically a video manual, although it is not a replacement for the PDF manual that ships with Monsoon. If the pace of this video is too slow or too fast, then consider adjusting the playback speed with YouTube's settings. Also note the chapter links in the description section. Support is provided via the email address listed in the PDF manual. Before we get into the details, let me quickly show 4 highlights of what Monsoon is capable of. Watch how I instantly and in real time control the entire harmony of my composition by changing the currently playing live clip. Watch as I go back and forth between the jazz song Autumn Leaves and another song. As you can see, Monsoon can use live clips on one track to control the entire harmony of a live set or composition. Now, instead of having a live clip control the harmony of my live set as I just showed, watch how I control the harmony of my entire live set myself by mashing buttons on a MIDI controller. Watch how I explore Western harmony by mashing buttons on a MIDI controller. Finally, watch how I improvise over complex jazz changes using only the white keys on the piano. I will start by just playing a C note. Listen to how the note that sounds when I play that C note changes automatically based on the harmony as specified by the currently playing live clip. C notes are always the first note in the currently selected scale. D notes are always the second note in the currently selected scale, and so on. Next, I will play some 1-3-5 arpeggios. Listen to how the notes I am playing change automatically. Finally, I will just jam. What is Monsoon? Monsoon is an Ableton Max For Live solution which provides control over the harmony of an entire composition or live set via live input or recorded notes. It uses a single MIDI track and the notes that track receives through either live MIDI input or recorded MIDI notes to control, in real time, the scales, modes, chords, etc. of all or some of the MIDI tracks in a composition or live set. For example, consider this live clip. The notes in this live clip control the harmony of any tracks on which Monsoon is configured, and the harmony is applied for the duration of those notes. In short, notes and their duration on one track control the harmony of other tracks. Monsoon supports all the modes and chords of the following root scales: diatonic, melodic minor, harmonic major, and Neapolitan major. Monsoon offers an ultra-smooth workflow. The user interface is minimal as it leverages Ableton Live's native interface and tools to manage user input. In other words, it just works. A lot of care was taken to make Monsoon stable and easy to use. Latency values are manageable, precise, and fixed. What can you do with Monsoon? You can employ a chord track to control the entire harmonic content of a composition or live set via live input or recorded notes. You can decouple the rhythm and harmony of an entire composition or live set. You can conduct the harmony of a composition or live set. You can effortlessly, playfully, and with limited knowledge of music theory explore Western harmony. You can effortlessly employ modal interchange, chord substitutions, relative major and minor, chord inversions, voice leadings, and more. You can transpose an entire composition or live set by mashing buttons like the endless sequencer transposition feature of a popular Swedish hardware device. What are some specific examples? Channel your inner John Coltrane. Drop in complex jazz changes like giant steps and improvise over them like a virtuoso jazz musician. Immediately change the entire harmony of a composition by simply replacing the live clip of the control track. For example, you can instantly make your composition or live set use the harmony of, say, Madonna's Borderline or the jazz standard Autumn Leaves. Connect MIDI triggers to a drum kit or modular MIDI generator and route those triggers to individual tracks. One track might receive the bass drum trigger and control a bass instrument, while another track might receive a snare drum trigger and control a chord instrument. Monsoon will superimpose harmony over the rhythms coming from the drum kit or modular MIDI generator. Why did I create Monsoon? 1. There are many great harmony tools in the market which provide chords and scales, etc., but after years of testing and experimentation, I still yearned for a smoother and more expressive workflow. For example, the tools I found did not offer real-time synchronization of chord and scale changes, and other solutions required VST plugins with complicated routing and synchronization systems. 2. Drumming is naturally expressive, and my goal was to allow that same sort of expression to control the harmony of entire compositions. Monsoon breaks down the barrier between the human, the computer, and the musical staff. How does Monsoon work from a high level? Technically speaking, Monsoon MIDI effect devices sit on your tracks and they are controlled by Monsoon control devices. Monsoon control devices respond to live clips or live input from a MIDI controller. Harmonically speaking, if you sit at a piano and play all the white keys from middle C to one octave up, then you've played a C major scale or the C Ionian mode. If you play all the white keys from the A below middle C to one octave up, then you have played an A minor scale or the A Aeolian mode. Similarly, if you take an Ableton MIDI scale effect and set it to C major and you send it white key notes or black key notes from middle C to one octave up, then it will force the black key notes into the C major scale and you will hear a C major scale or the C Ionian mode. If you send it white key notes or black key notes from the A below middle C to one octave up, then you will hear an A minor scale or the A Aeolian mode. That principle can be applied to all root scales and their modes, and that is essentially how Monsoon works. You select the scale, mode, and the transposition of notes sent into Monsoon, and they are algorithmically transformed according to the selected scale and mode, etc. You can add Monsoon to as many tracks as you like, or as many as your computer can handle, and they will obey the harmony as directed from the control track. As described in the PDF manual, load testing was performed with Monsoon on 20 to 50 tracks. No performance issues were experienced, so Monsoon should be able to cover most use cases without performance issues. Installation. Copy the Sonoran Music Devices folder to your Ableton user library. Do not add, remove, or change anything inside of the Sonoran Music Devices folder. Uninstallation. Delete the Sonoran Music Devices folder from your Ableton user library. What's included? The Sonoran Music Devices folder contains a folder called Monsoon, which contains components, init m7.alc, Monsoon drum rack, Monsoon Harmonizer control, Monsoon Harmonizer no chords, Monsoon Harmonizer, Monsoon Humanizer, and the manual. Components contains the Harmonizer control.amxd Max for Live device. Init m7.alc is a live clip which resets Monsoon to an example default state. It will be discussed later in this video. Monsoon Drum Rack is a live drum rack device which is mostly just a visual aid. When using direct mode, discussed later in this video, it forces all incoming notes to middle C by default or alternatively whatever note is selected on the note out dial. Monsoon Harmonizer control is a MIDI effect. It will be discussed later in this video. Monsoon Harmonizer no chords is a MIDI effect which is controlled by Monsoon Harmonizer control. Like its moniker suggests, it is for tracks like basses and leads. It will be discussed later in this video. Monsoon Harmonizer is a MIDI effect which is controlled by Monsoon Harmonizer control. It will be discussed later in this video. Monsoon Humanizer is a special arpeggiator which can also produce a strumming effect. It will be discussed later in this video. Setup. Here I have prepared a new live set. It contains only some MIDI tracks with chosen names and colors. On the piano track, we have a piano sound, and on the bass track, we have a bass sound. That's it. The first step is to ensure Options Reduced Latency when monitoring is off. For more information, see the Technical Notes section of the manual. Add Monsoon Drum Rack to the Monsoon control track. On the Piano Harmonizer track, add Monsoon Harmonizer. On the Bass Harmonizer track, add Monsoon Harmonizer no chords since we do not want Monsoon to generate chords on the bass track. Set the Piano Harmonizer track's input type to the Piano Notes track, set input channel to post mixer, and set monitoring to in. Set the piano track's input type to Piano Harmonizer, set input type to post mixer, and set monitoring to in. Set the Bass Harmonizer track's input type to the Bass Notes track, set input channel to post mixer, and set monitoring to in. Set the bass track's input type to Bass Harmonizer, set input type to post mixer, and set monitoring to in. Open Live's Preferences and click on the Audio tab. Make a note of the buffer size value. Here's the Audio tab. Here's the buffer size value. We can see that it is 1024 samples. Set the track delay of the Piano Notes track to buffer size and samples. To set a track delay in samples, press this MS button. Here I'm going to set it to 1024 samples. Set the track delay of the Piano Harmonizer track to buffer size times -1 in samples. So that would be minus 1024 samples. Set the track delay of the Bass Notes track to buffer size in samples. Set the track delay of the Bass Harmonizer track to buffer size times -1 in samples. If you want to add more instruments, then just repeat this process for as many tracks as you want. On the Monsoon control track, add the Monsoon Harmonizer control device. Duplicate the chain called Harmonizer Control 0 for as many instrument tracks as you want to control. You will see the name of each chain change after each duplication. Do not change the name of those chains. Since we're controlling 2 tracks and we already have one chain, we're just going to duplicate it one time. And we can see its name is changed. If later on you decide to add more instrument tracks, then repeat this process for each instrument track and duplicate the last chain in the Monsoon Harmonizer control device on the Monsoon control track for each new track you add. You can group and move Monsoon tracks as you see fit, and you can name them whatever you want. Setup is now complete. Unless you want to add more tracks, you never need to perform the setup process again. You can create template live sets with Monsoon already set up and ready to go, and I recommend you do that. Note: if you change the size of your audio buffer, then you need to update your track delay values using the process we just showed. How to use Monsoon. There are 3 ways to use Monsoon: direct mode, indirect mode, and sequenced mode. We will cover all 3 modes now. Here I have prepared a new live set, and I set up Monsoon with 3 instruments: piano, bass, and a Rhodes lead. Direct mode. In direct mode, playing notes on the Monsoon control track will do 2 things. 1. Cause Monsoon Harmonizer control to change its targeted effects, and 2. Output the MIDI note set by the MIDI note dial. Using direct mode. 1. On the piano notes track, set input type to the Monsoon control track, set input channel to Monsoon drum rack note out post effects, and set monitoring to in. 2. Now go back to the Monsoon control track and play some of the chord, mode, or pitch pads and listen to the results. C notes are sent to the piano notes track, and they are affected by the Monsoon Harmonizer device on the piano Harmonizer track depending on how its dials are controlled by the Monsoon control track. Note: in direct mode, Monsoon Drum Rack only sends out notes for the following function types described later in the Monsoon Drum Rack section of this video: pitch, alter, scale, inversion, mode, and chord. Indirect mode. Indirect mode is the same as direct mode, except no MIDI notes are output by the Monsoon control track. Instead, live input or recorded notes on, for example, the piano notes track are affected by the Monsoon Harmonizer device on the piano Harmonizer track as controlled by the Monsoon control track. Using indirect mode. 1. On the piano notes track, set input type to all inputs and set monitoring to auto. 2. Enter some C3 notes into a clip on the piano notes track. 3. Hit play. 4. Arm the Monsoon control track. 5. Play the Monsoon drum rack and listen to the results. The C3 notes on the piano notes track are affected by the Monsoon Harmonizer device on the piano Harmonizer track depending on how its dials are controlled by the Monsoon control track. Note: if you use the Monsoon Drum Rack's transpose function type, more on that later, then you can perform transpositions by mashing buttons like the endless sequencer transposition feature of a popular Swedish hardware device. Sequenced mode. Sequenced mode is the same as indirect mode, except instead of playing the Monsoon Drum Rack, notes sequenced in live clips on the Monsoon control track control, for example, the Monsoon Harmonizer device on the piano Harmonizer track. Using sequenced mode. 1. On the piano notes track, set input type to all inputs and set monitoring to auto. 2. Enter some C3 notes into a clip on the piano notes track. 3. Add the included init m7.alc live clip to the Monsoon control track. 4. Hit play. 5. Experiment with changing the notes of the init m7.alc live clip and listen to the results. For example, mode 1 will start on beat 1, then I will change to mode 5 on the second beat. The Mode 5 note is currently disabled, but I will enable it as the clip is playing and you will hear the result. You can create, save, and reuse live clips, and you can instantly trigger them or replace them on the Monsoon control track to completely change the harmony of your entire composition or live set in real time, as you saw earlier in this video. Also, as you saw earlier in this video, sequenced mode can be used to control the harmony of the entire live set or composition while you improvise on a track using only the white key notes on the piano. The white key notes you play will be forced into the harmony controlled by the Monsoon control track. For example, you can have the Monsoon control track specifying the harmony to the jazz song Autumn Leaves while you improvise using only the white keys on the piano. The white key notes you play will be forced into the quote, correct corresponding note of whichever scale and mode is selected by the Monsoon control track. Monsoon Harmonizer and Monsoon Harmonizer no chords. As discussed earlier, Monsoon Humanizer and Monsoon Harmonizer no chords are live effects which affect the notes of tracks on which those effects sit. Monsoon Harmonizer produces chords by forcing incoming MIDI notes into the chords, scales, and modes set by Monsoon Harmonizer control. Monsoon Harmonizer no chords does the same thing except it does not produce chords. Chord Formulas. Monsoon Humanizer works with most chord formulas in the C major scale, and it converts them to other chord formulas depending on the selected scale and mode. For example, the C major chord formula is 1-3-5. If, all else equal, mode 1 of the diatonic scale is selected, which is the Ionian mode, then Monsoon outputs a C major chord. If, all else equal, mode 6 of the diatonic scale is selected, which is the Aeolian mode, then Monsoon outputs a C minor chord. Most chord formulas are directly supported by Monsoon Humanizer except those with sharp 11 and flat 13. However, those chord formulas are indirectly supported by, for example, playing or recording them into the piano notes track discussed earlier, but with Monsoon Humanizer no chords instead of Monsoon Humanizer sitting on the piano harmonizer track. More generally, instead of using Monsoon Humanizer's chord capabilities, you can build your own C major chord formulas with live clips for tracks on which Monsoon Humanizer no chords sits, and then use Monsoon to control the scales, modes, and inward and outward transposition of those chords. It is worth noting that sharp 11 and flat 13 notes transpose one octave down or enharmonically equivalent to flat 5 and sharp 5 notes respectively, and Monsoon directly supports those chord formulas. Monsoon Drum Rack. Monsoon Drum Rack's notes are grouped by their function type, and their colors correspond to the function type documented in the manual. Green notes indicate default values, and red notes are just a visual aid to denote +12 semitones in the pitch and transpose sections. Here is a brief explanation and demonstration of each function type. Note, Ableton Push is not required to use Monsoon. First, a brief explanation. These light blue notes are chord formulas. These orange notes are modes for the selected root scale. These pink notes are chord inversions: drop third, drop fifth, drop seventh, drop ninth, drop 11th, and drop 13th. These dark blue notes are root scales. These pink notes are alterations: flat 5, sharp 5, flat 9, and sharp 9. This group of yellow notes are the transpositions of notes going into Monsoon. Above those, we have the voicing modes in light blue. Below the chord formula notes, we have a group of yellow notes, which are the transpositions of notes going out of Monsoon. Below that, we have the optional notes on-off notes. Below that, we have -24, -12, +12, and +24 open chord notes. Here is a brief demonstration. Voicing mode. The best way to understand voicing mode is to try it. I will first provide an explanation, then I will demonstrate. Voicing closed groups together outgoing notes using the rules in this table. The output of that is sent to an effects chain which transposes the note range G3 through G8 down 12 semitones. Voicing 0 groups together outgoing notes using the rules in this table. Voicing open 12 groups together outgoing notes using the rules in this table. The output of that is sent to an effects chain which transposes the note range G3 through G8 up 12 semitones. Voicing open 24 groups together outgoing notes using the rules in this table. The output of that is sent to an effects chain which transposes the note range G3 through G8 up 24 semitones. Here is a demonstration of voicing mode. Diminished. Monsoon's diminished mode type is special. When selected, input will be forced into the 7th mode of the harmonic major scale, Locrian flat 7. In practice, that allows you to effortlessly play diminished chords. Here is a demonstration of diminished mode. Optional notes. When 9th chords are played, they are often played without the 5th chord degree. Selecting Op Notes On includes the 5th chord degree when Monsoon produces 9th chords. When 11th chords are played, they are often played without the 5th and 9th chord degrees. Selecting Op Notes On includes the 5th and 9th chord degrees when Monsoon produces 11th chords. When 13th chords are played, they are often played without the 5th, 9th, and 11th chord degrees. Selecting Op Notes On includes the 5th, 9th, and 11th chord degrees when Monsoon produces 13th chords. Here is a quick example of optional notes using 13th chords. Monsoon Harmonizer control. The following dials exist on Monsoon Harmonizer control: Transglobal, Random Pitch, and Random Choices. Transglobal transposes all Monsoon Harmonizer and Monsoon Harmonizer no chords instances in semitones. In addition to the transport buttons on Monsoon Drum Rack, this is another separate place where you can transpose your composition or live set. For example, suppose you sequenced various transpositions using Monsoon Drum Rack, but you want to quickly transpose your entire composition or live set. Transglobal is the most convenient way to do that. Random Pitch sets the chance that notes coming into Monsoon Harmonizer and Monsoon Harmonizer no chords are randomized using an embedded instance of Live's random MIDI effect. Random Choices sets the choices parameter of the aforementioned random MIDI effect. Experiment with different values of this combined with different values of random pitch. Here is a quick demonstration of Monsoon Harmonizer controls dials. Monsoon Humanizer. Monsoon Humanizer is another device you may choose to add to your tracks. It supports two types of arpeggiation, note lengthening, and velocity automation. You can use the unsynced arpeggiation mode with a low value for strum free and a touch of velocity random to do some basic strumming, or add a tiny amount of space between Monsoon's chord notes, which humanizes them and makes them sound natural. There is also a synced arpeggiation mode for other creative uses. Monsoon Humanizer was built with stock Ableton MIDI effects, and you can inspect it to see how its dials are mapped. Refer to the official Ableton Live documentation to learn what those dials do. Here is a quick demonstration of Monsoon Humanizer. Frequently asked questions. Why do you need 2 tracks for each instrument track? Because of Max for Live's uncompensated latency discussed in the technical notes section of the PDF manual. Even Ableton's own stock expression control device has the same latency. That latency is more prominent with Monsoon because Monsoon's processing must happen before the notes it affects, and that is only achievable using Live's track delay settings. The good news is that latency is fixed and manageable, provided you follow Monsoon's setup instructions, and it does not add to the overall plugin latency of your live set. As mentioned earlier in this video, you are free to group and move your tracks as you see fit. Okay, that is all for now. Thank you for watching.